It's not that it's hard for me. It will be hard for my family to hear. They even said they would burn me alive. We must break this cycle of impunity and bring Russian war criminals to justice. He took what I loved the most. I don't need anything else, just get my child back. We're working on recording everything. We understand that the state doesn't have enough resources to document what's going on right now. So different human rights organizations have come together in an association. We have a Tribunal for Putin Association. It's a global initiative. It aims to create a complete base of all the episodes, especially in the occupied regions. When the enemy retreated, we got access to the people, places and social facilities they destroyed. That's why we are so eager to gather all data. Our next task is to make the world recognize that these were crimes, punish the penetrators and restore the rights of the victims. But it's important to find everyone and gather information from everyone. That's a lot of work. That's millions of episodes of war crimes. According to locals, a lot of people were taken captive on this street. On February 24, a girl, Victoria Andrusho, was taken captive here. She was held in one of the basements. We started making posts on Facebook that Victoria was gone, that she had disappeared. We called both hospitals and morgues. We called everywhere. We looked for her, and we asked about her. Some guy said they saw her. One said he had seen her, and another said he had heard about a teacher from Brovary who didn't back down, spoke only Ukrainian, and talked to them, let's say, as an equal. Some guys also said that not every man could act like that, and you know, that such a spirit and strength like her. It's okay, she'll come back home. We all know she will get back. On the first day alone, I counted 670 or 640 pieces of equipment. That's what I saw with my own eyes. They were heading down the central highway to Kiev. It was at least 200 vehicles a day, every single day. 350 to 400 units were moving there. All that equipment was moving there. On March 25th, 3 soldiers knocked at the gate. A man in black comes in. I thought it was an FSB man, with up to 10 men with him. They brought my husband to his knees near the kitchen. Victoria was in the kitchen. I don't even remember her entering the house. I can't say how that happened. It's been so long. I can't get my head around how she came into the house. They took me to another room and left a military man with a machine gun next to me. There were jackets on a hanger. One of them was a camouflage jacket. They picked on us because of this jacket. They thought we had a military man somewhere. As to what they demanded on her, I understood that they found her phone because they went into the house with a phone saying to Sister Irina. An APC drove into the street. She conveyed the movements of our troops. She's a regular teacher who escaped from Brovary on February 24 because the first explosions were there and everyone was leaving wherever they could. But if she had known about the situation here, she would have stayed in Brovary. She wore a black fur coat and I gave her my Ugg boots. When she left the house, she kissed me and asked me to say goodbye to her father. When she came up to him, they saw, a square pattern on her Ugg boots. They started screaming that it was her. That's her. She's the one who conveyed information. They will recognize her there. It was a synergy. Both of our organization, the Center of Civil Liberties, and their relatives and human rights activists in the aggressor's territory. But first and foremost, it was Victoria's family who literally gave no peace to anyone until she was released. That involves inquiries, interviews, including with international organizations, and applications to international organizations for help. It was a complex approach. The case was highly publicized. It was probably on the radar of both the international and Ukrainian communities. Everyone knew that Victoria Andrusho, a teacher from Brovary, had been kidnapped by the Russian military from her parents' house. So Victoria was become an emblem of a real Ukrainian woman who needs to be freed. Good afternoon. Nice to finally meet you in person. Thank you. I'm so glad you're home. Thank you. May I hug you as well? Yes, you can, of course. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, let's come inside. Before the war, I worked as a math teacher at the Brovary school. It was specialized school number 5. Interacting with the kids overrides that all. You just come into a classroom and they run to you and tell you how much they love you and that you are the best teacher and so on. They even send photos. They all send their best regards. They were really excited when they were told I was already home. I'll be back pretty soon. So the children are really happy about it. A lot of houses were destroyed. Some houses got hit by shells and so on. Some houses are still damaged. Some people have already started to rebuild their houses, or they're just living in the summer kitchens until they restore the houses. We heard gunfire from the direction of Novi Bekiv. There was a battle going on there for a certain amount of time. It was pretty loud. People here were really scared. We didn't know what was going on there. We heard gunshots. It was all noisy. Then those shots went silent. We could hear some single shots, As we said, they searched the ground. And on February 27th, we watched tanks, APCs and BMPs coming out of Novi Bekiv. All of their equipment was just moving somewhere. We were scared, because we didn't know what was going to happen next. We didn't know where they were going to go next. After some time, we were told that some locals had been shot. It happened on the first or second day. The mothers of the killed guys confirmed that it really happened. One of the mothers couldn't even make it to the funeral because she was in a different settlement. Another one wanted to take her son's body much earlier, but she wasn't allowed to. When Russians came, I asked my mother to give me warm socks. They let her out of the room. Of course, my mother fell into hysterics. It was really... My mom gave me warm socks. When I went outside, I said, let me say goodbye to my father. I went over him. He was sitting near the kitchen, just being, he was frozen. He asked them, when is she coming back? In 3 to 4 days, they said. Another car pulled up to our house, and many more people got out of it. There were more than 10 of them, no doubt. There was a man in charge who said, using foul language, "Banderites live here. Hurry up. Where is your husband? Bring me all the phones, computers, laptops and tablets. Everything you have. Now." They started searching the house. They started calling us banderites, nationalists, separatists and so forth. They said they had been told about me. "I heard a lot about you," one of them said. Then they said, "Dress warmer and pack what you need. You're coming with us." I didn't resist. My mother was locked in another room. My father was outside, so it was just the 4 of us in the house. Our neighbor, an old lady, was also there. She was just sitting on the couch watching it all. Now, at that moment, I didn't think about it, didn't know what was next to come. I had no words for that. They put me in the cellar. My uncle was already in there. After a while, another local man, who was about 60 years old, was brought in. So it was pretty cold down there. We gathered all the clothes we found there. We covered ourselves with it because we didn't know how long we would stay there. Some soldiers were they were quite aggressive. Once I even refused to talk to a soldier because he started using foul language. He started talking to me quite aggressively, and I asked him, "Why are you yelling at me?" There were a few of them, and that one started saying that I was lying and that we're all brainwashed. He was also saying that Ukrainians were insane and inadequate, and what we used to be brotherly nations and friends, but then we elected a comedian as president and so on. I stopped my story and said, "I don't want to talk to you." I was taken from my home on March 25th. On March 26th, I was transported to a neighboring village and handed over the soldiers who guarded the captives. I knew the area, so I understood that we were going to a neighboring village and that we were somewhere near our people's hall. But I didn't understand exactly which building. We were blindfolded and with our hands tied. Then they took me to their commander for interrogation. He showed me my phone, where they found correspondence with a person who I sent the data to. They asked me, "Who is this person? Do you know him in person? Who else did you send the information to?" They gave me a text. I had to say in my own words in front of the camera. In the end, I had to say that I understood that my actions could have caused harm to the Russian military and equipment, got people killed, and so on. There was a man, they were beaten up pretty badly. I asked them not to touch him. I can't stand it when physical force is used, when somebody gets beaten up and you can't help, you can't do anything about it. All I could do was just ask them to stop it. They took one other person and me from Novi Pekiv. They blindfolded us, tied our hands, and put us in a car. They took us somewhere I didn't know in which direction because it was hard to find my parents, as the car made a circle around the village. It took a while for me to realize that I was actually on the battlefield. When we were driving, they said, if we're lucky, we'll get there alive. If your soldiers don't write down fire on us, we'll be alive. We got to some place for interrogation and they said, you know, anything could happen to you right now, and no one would know what exactly, where, when or how. I remember having my hands and my feet shaken. They asked me to come down and I couldn't. It was really difficult. They said, we don't do anything bad to you. You know, the fact that I'm here is enough, I replied, especially since I didn't know what was going to happen to me next. They threatened to me. The whole situation was horrible. I was told that they would do to me what our Nazis did to women in Donbass. At that point, they showed me a video of women being wrapped with different objects. They got it from social networks. The video of how soldiers carved different fascist symbols on their breasts, and how those women were tortured, and supposedly the Ukrainian military was bragging that they were doing this, and so on. Russians told me they would do the same to me if I didn't cooperate with them. I said, ask away, I'm already here. They even asked, aren't you afraid of what's going to happen to you? And I said, look, I'm already here. You have me in your pocket. They were pretty aggressive. They were annoyed, even when I was answering questions. They asked a question, I answered it, and it annoyed them. At first, I spoke both Ukrainian and Russian. It was really hard. The situation was stressful. They were very angry. They didn't like it. They told me to speak Russian. What was the scariest thing for you in those 6 months? The hardest part? The unknown. They didn't tell us anything. We didn't know what the situation was at home. Were our relatives alive? Where were they? Was there any fighting going on there? Was the Russian military still there? Did the Ukrainian military already liberate cities, settlements, and so on? They wouldn't let us contact our relatives. They let us write a letter just once. It was May 26th. The letter was written exactly as they told. I had to write that I was okay and that they didn't hurt me in the detention center, but we weren't supposed to tell where they held us. We could write that we were fine, that we were given 3 hot meals a day, and that they provide us with any medical care they could, that they provide sanitary processing and things like that. And then they said, ironically, you can write whether you love your family or not, whether you miss them or not, what a bad president and a bad leadership you have, and so on. They wouldn't let us look at them. By the way, we had to have our heads low all the time so no one would look them in the eye. I lifted my head, looked straight up and said, do I have to? There were maybe 5 of them there. One of them said, well, you don't have to write it if you don't want to. I said, okay, I won't write it. They wouldn't even let us listen to the radio. They made a playlist we had to listen to all the time. All songs were pro-Russian. We listened to them all day long and even had to sing them. There was a mandatory list of songs that we had to sing. If they didn't like it, or though it was loud enough, they wouldn't come up and tell everybody to sing louder. They even asked some of our Ukrainian men the lyrics, and they asked me too. Russians were checking to see if I knew the songs, if I learned them. They were standing by the cell to see if we were singing. If they didn't hear somebody singing, they could ask everybody to shut up in order to make sure that particular person was singing. They were pretty rough about it. Besides their songs, we also had to listen to stories about Bandera, Melnik, and Shukavich. They used to play that to us all the time. Sometimes they said, "Stand up and listen to it. You have to be a bit more passionate. When you get into the cell, it will be better." When they led me, they asked, "Where should we take her?" Somebody said, "To the same place as everyone else." It meant I had to go to the same way as the men. They used restraints. Different things happened to me, but I don't want to go into detail. It's not that it's hard for me. It's going to be hard for my family to know. Then they threatened me. They even said they would burn me alive. There was a moment when thoughts were running through my head. "Victoria, you have to get through this. This will happen. Calm down. It's going to be okay." I tried to get a grip on myself. I understood they would not kill me because I was told if you made it here, you're lucky. You're going to be okay. I was just setting myself up to this to happen because there was no way I could stop it. That same night, they sat me down next to a bucket with a bunch of hair in it. Some man had already been cut bald. I saw a pile of their hair and I turned on a hair trimmer. They said, "We're going to cut your hair now." I was confused. The investigators said they wouldn't touch me, and the soldiers said I was about to get bald, and I understood that it could happen. I wanted to tell that person that I was told they wouldn't touch me, but I decided not to. I didn't want to provoke them. I didn't need them. I listened to them and decided that it will be better that I didn't know what the situation was, so I offered no resistance. I did exactly what they told me, because I had already seen their anger, I had already experienced it and didn't want to feel that again. I even lost consciousness several times. I warned them that I was about to faint, but they wouldn't believe me. "You make a really bad actress," they said. And a minute later, I was lying on the floor. They started walking around me then. That's how they dragged me back to my senses. I woke up from being slapped in the face like that. I came to my senses and they gave me a chance to wash my face. I mean, they gave me cold water. In 3 minutes, I felt I was about to lose consciousness again. They even used physical force, asking, "Why are you doing this?" I said, "Are you serious?" "I'm not doing it on purpose. I was standing, feeling dizzy, and, you know, it seemed like I was in a vacuum. I remember when I got fingerprinted and they held the bottle right in front of my nose, because as soon as they took it away, I passed out. Then they let me take a shower. I asked for cold water. They had warm water, but I said, "Give me cold water." I knew if I went in there, I would definitely pass out. I don't remember how they led me to my cell after the shower. I just remember no one touching me anymore. I didn't cry before I got to the cell. I had no emotions. The only thing I felt was a constant shiver. I felt fear because of all this, you know, because of not understanding why they were doing it. When they took me into the cell, I threw my things on the bed like that and slowly slid down the wall. Tears rolled down my face. Those girls who were in the cell had already talked to each other. They already knew I had to come. And the girl, who was 2 years younger, said, "Victoria, how are you? What's wrong with you?" She started talking to me and I was just sitting there all twisted and kept repeating this mantra in my head. "Victoria, this had to happen. Calm down. Everything will be okay. You can do it. Calm down." It was composing myself that it will be over sometime. I fainted a few more times in the cell. In the mornings, we were sure to listen to the Russian anthem. And a minute or two after we got up, I felt like I was about to faint again. We didn't know the whole situation. Then we didn't know how we should behave, or what we could or could not do. Everybody felt bad about their shouting and remarks, especially me, because after that horrible acceptance, I didn't know how to behave. I said that I was not going to ask for medical attention, and this girl said, "I will. You know, you can be mad at me, but fainting every 2 or 3 minutes is not normal." Then she called the inspector and told him I was passing out, and after a while he said, "Well, we can fix her up. We can cheer her up." To cheer up meant to use another one of their special tools, a stun gun. I'm not going to pass out because they will cheer me up. Or we can tell the nurse to give you an injection of some kind. You have only 2 options. He called me and asked, "How are you feeling?" I answered, "I don't need any help. I can handle it myself. I'm fine." He asked me again, "Are you sure you're okay?" And I said, "Totally fine." These people are treated the same as prisoners of war. We know that for a fact. And that's why we can say that the conditions are mostly horrendous. Firstly, they're all in prison. I mean, it's not a camp. It's just cells with bars that are closed almost around the clock. People have maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours a day to walk around. And that's all. It's a prison. International humanitarian law prohibits such conditions for prisoners of war, let alone for civilians. The Russian Federation calls them prisoners of war, which is a major violation of international humanitarian law. These people have actually been kidnapped. And these people are being humiliated. In some cases, we record torture. A real torture. Russian soldiers force these people to sing Russian songs. There are at least 2,000 captives in Russia and in the occupied territories, and they're the very least. There are probably more such people. Why can't we say for sure? The Russian Federation violates international humanitarian law and doesn't notify how many captives it has, who they are, and where they are. A huge number of civilians are still incarcerated either in the Russian Federation or in Russian-occupied Ukrainian lands. We have to do the best we can to bring these people home and make sure they live to see freedom whenever it is. It means that even as Russia completely ignores international law and the decisions of international organizations, we have to find a way to get Russia to stop torturing them, provide medical care, and not keep them in isolation but keep contact with civilians. We have to get them to show some humanity, which the Russian military and their top officials don't seem to understand at all. We must break this cycle of impunity and bring Russian war criminals to justice. We must never give up. When you can't rely on legal tools, you can always rely on people. And people have a lot more influence and power than they think of themselves. Even in most hopeless situations, someone will come to the rescue. That's it. It's okay now. My kid made it. Yesterday she found out that on my left hand, please, we're going to see you. A little band, it's just like an emblem of your indestructibility. Thank you. My congratulations, I said. Just a few more minutes and we'll be home, but I couldn't quite grasp it yet. I remember myself saying, I promise not to cry, I won't cry, calm down. I was just standing and wiping tears from my face, and we had an agreement that if we came to Ukraine, we wouldn't cry. We're home, we're okay, everything is fine. The first wish everyone had was to call their family. We didn't know if they knew anything about us. We were given phones and SIM cards. It didn't matter to us that we were in the clothes that we were wearing there. We got new clothes too, we got everything. But it was important for us not to go change, but to make a phone call. I said right away, "Mommy, hi," and she just didn't hear me. We got dissed and I said, "Mommy, Mommy, can you hear me?" My mother went silent. I said, "Mom, it's me, Mom. I am in Ukraine, everything is fine." She just said, "Victoria, Victoria, is that you?" And that it was a surge of emotion. I tried to calm her down. "Don't cry, it's okay. We're going home, we're in Ukraine, I'm okay." Hello, everyone, we're from Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. Don't take pictures, please. They're not taking pictures of you. My daughter is home. Thank you all very much. They were so happy to have Victoria back. It's our greatest joy. God willing, all of our captives come back alive. I said that not for excuses, but as gratitude. Thank you very much. What are you ready for? It's okay, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Give me a hug. Don't cry. Don't cry. These are tears of joy. All the pain that's been inside is coming out. That's it. I'm home now. Everything is going to be okay. More than 2,000 people have been kidnapped by the Russian military from Ukraine. They now live in the darkness of Russian prisons. All of them must be released without any strings or exchanges of prisoners.